Hi, hello, how are ya? I don't know why I did that. I really don't know why I did that. Anyway, hi. As per usual, I'm not sure how my head is in frame, but we're gonna roll with this video anyway. Alright, so I am doing another video where I am going through the books that have been in my bookcase for so freaking long, and I just have to do something about it. So I'm gonna read them. They have been there a really long time. I am continuously getting new books, and you know, it's time to see if they're worth keeping or if they're worth unhauling. So far I've done a fantasy and a generic crime suspense thrillery type video like this, and it has been very successful. I have gotten rid of a lot. Some of the books that I thought would be amazing turned out not to be. So this time I'm going to do it with my romance fiction. So this is, I mean, I would count all of these as romance, but some people have different ways to describe books. But anyway, so this is what we're doing today. We're doing that video. So last time that I came to you guys with these videos, I would go through and only talk about the videos as I finished and started them. This time, I'm going to talk about all of the books and then interject in the editing room, which is just my living room. But I'm going to put in the footage of me after I have read these books. Every time you come back to me in this outfit, in this place, in my house, with my lovely pretend bookcase thing covering my TV, I am talking about a new book. So that's your clue, okay? Alright. I figured this might be a fun way to keep this interesting for me because, you know, I have to film. This is the third time I've done something like this. So I'm going to keep it interesting for me and hopefully for you too. Alright. The first book that I think I'm going to read, okay, I better talk about it in terms of what book I'm actually going to start with. So the first book I have actually already started. I started it a while ago and it started irritating me. And so I stopped reading it, but we're going to actually read it and get through it this time. It's actually a very difficult book to find, so I'm hoping I like it enough to keep it because it's very hard to actually get in print. But that is Miss Invisible by Laura Jensen Walker. So this book is about a woman who is plus size babe, and she is a baker, I believe. She makes cakes and stuff. And she just doesn't think that she'll be able to find a guy who likes her for her because she's a bit plus size. And then she meets a cute veterinarian, and she's just not sure whether he's actually into her, whether she's like worthy of anything with anybody. There's a cute guy that she knows in her, I think, church community or something, and so she's just not sure of her worth and whether she deserves to have love. So the reason that this book has irritated me so much, so I'm on page about page 50, and the reason this book irritated me so much is this 50 pages of this chick being so insecure, eating problems, things like that. She's just genuinely puts herself down so hard, and I'm like, I'm just reading a story about somebody who is so down on themselves and has such low self-esteem, and I honestly don't find that entertaining enough or interesting enough. Like, I can get a boss babe who maybe has some insecurities, right? Like, you know, she's plus size, but she has a little bit of insecurity, obviously. Like, you know, that's fine. But all she is a bundle of insecurity, and that has been really frustrating. You're probably looking at her gaining confidence, self-confidence along her journey and finding out that she is worthy to love. Of course she is. But at the moment, it's just been really difficult to slog through. Like 50 pages, we're still sort of in that phase of like, oh, I'm useless, I'm worthless, nobody will love me because I'm fat. Like, it's frustrating to read. I want to get quicker past that than 50 pages is a long time for her to be wallowing in and not actually doing anything to actively change her life. Like, if your life sucks, change it, right? Like, that's actually genuinely, that's good advice. Like, if your life sucks and you have the capacity to change it, which she does, change it. Like, change your life, babe. Like, don't just stay there and wallow in misery. But anyway, so that's just my randomly harsh opinion. But I am actually going to finish this book. I am. It is like 300 pages. It is not a very long book. It's pretty short. And so I am going to finish this book, and it's going to be the first one I read. Hi. I just filmed all of my reactions to this book, and now I have to do it again because the camera didn't film it. So, hooray! We're talking about this for the second time today. I have finally finished Miss Invisible by Laura Jensen Walker. So my thoughts on this book, I talked to you guys a little bit about my frustrations within the first 50 pages that I'd already read, and they didn't go away. When you have a main character and her main plot point is that she's overweight, unhappy about it, thinks she's invisible because of it, and she doesn't do anything to change her life, it's very frustrating to read about. I've in my last talking about this book, which you guys didn't hear, this book was written in 2007, and something that I realized was that this main character, Freddie, has victim mentality up the wazoo. She has an absolute victim mentality mindset that drives me insane. And after the last, especially like year, 2 years, really what we get a lot of online is people complaining about their life, being victim mentality, screaming from the mountaintops that life is unfair for whatever reason that they've decided that week. And that really irritates me. It's not interesting. It's just so frustrating. If you don't like your life, change it. Don't just sit there and complain about it. So that doesn't appeal to me, and that annoys me a lot. And so this is exactly what this book was. And so I didn't connect with Freddie. I didn't like her very much. I have been thinner than what I am now. I have been bigger than what I am now. And I can tell you from experience, you aren't invisible because of your size. You're just not. Like, I can't say for California, because maybe California is like especially mean, but you're just not invisible because of your size. You're invisible because of what you put out there. If you put out there that you are unapproachable, or that you are like, you know, you are invisible because you feel invisible, that's one thing. But because you're big, no babe, no. I get served all the time at restaurants. This was like a weird thing in this thing of like, oh, they don't serve me at the cafe. Nah, babe. Like, that's not because you're fat. It's just because you're like, you come off as unapproachable, okay? Like, I'm just, or your server is a dick because he's like a teenager. What does he know? Like, it's not because you're big, it's not because you're plus size, just that you don't get served. That's just not true. It's just not true, because I'm plus size, I get served. My family, like, you know, I've been plus size. At the moment, if you ask the plus size community, I am mid-size at best, but like, whatever, we'll just put a pin in that. But I've been bigger than this, and I always got served. Like, I'm an approachable person, so I get served all the time. People talk to me all the time. I'm approachable, right? Like, that's not why. You're not invisible because you're big. You're invisible because of what you put out there in the world. Just, I need to say that. Like, I have to say that. That is not why people are invisible, okay? And the proof of that was the main character's friend, Deborah, who is also larger than life, who is also larger, but she is a really fun and interesting dynamic person. She gets talked to, she gets and I guess that maybe that's the whole point of this book, is to say, like, you're not invisible because of your size, you're invisible because of, but like, whatever. Like, the main character is just so frustratingly irritating that I can't get past it. The good parts of this book, like I just said, Deborah, I love Deborah. She was such a fun character. Her and her family were great. I loved her. She was fantastic, comfortable in her own skin, even though she's on the larger side. Loved her to bits. I also found there was a few one-liners in here that I did also like. But for the most part, this book was annoying. It was frustrating. The romance was confusing. We have a name on the back, Hal, the cute veterinarian. But we also have other options in this book, and I don't know why we mentioned him on the back if we're going to look at other people too. Like, why are we mentioning his name at all? Why don't just say there are romantic people who are like, all of a sudden people are taking interest? Like, why mention him at all if you're going to have multiple romantic potentials? Like, why did we do that? Like, why did we didn't need that. I think that the writing was from a victim mentality. It was unrealistic for my experience. It seemed unrealistic for a plus size person in some aspects. Finding clothes is always really challenging when you're plus size, so that I'll give you. But it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it was very frustrating. The one thing too that really irritated me was there was so many pop culture references. Too many, Laura. Too many pop culture references in this book. Almost every page had one. And when we're talking about a movie that maybe not everybody has heard of who's reading this book, we had to have like an entire half-page summary. Like, no. People are smart enough that if they don't know what that movie is, if they really care, they'll look it up. Like, we've got Google, babe. We got Google. We can look it up. We don't need your like one-page summary synopsis of some random movie or some random culture reference that we just didn't need it. And there was so many references, and a lot of them were just thrown out just because. Like, no, too many. too much. It was too much for me. The Christian content in this book also felt too much as well. Like, there was a lot of references to, oh yes, oh, I wanted to say something, you know, snarky, but my good Christian girl, you know, side of me just wouldn't let me say it. That's not how that's not what it's like. I don't know if Laura views herself as a good Christian girl stereotype, but that's not what we're like. I would classify that as myself, a good Christian girl person. And that's not what we're like. If I wanted to say something mean, I'll dang well say it. As evidenced by my critiques of this book. I will say it, and I will say it in a nice way, but I will still say it. Like, I am not going to just not assert my boundaries because I'm a nice person. I'm not just going to, sure, you know, sometimes it's comic relief to say something a little bit snarky that you'd never do in real life. Like, oh, we should take a picture of her when she looks stupid and put it on the internet. Sometimes saying that in a safe space to your friends can be really releasing, and then you don't have to hold that inside and become bitter. So actually, a lot of good Christian girl people, the stereotype that people have of us, it's actually not like that. It's not like, well, I can't say that because I'm a good Christian person. No! You can say that. Of course you can say that. You can feel bad about it later. You can apologize. You can say to your friends, look guys, I probably said something I shouldn't have. I stepped over the line. Let's just not do that again. That's all it takes. Like, we're human. We're people. Like, we may, this idea of what good Christian girls are like, or like even good girls are like, it drives me insane. Anyway, no. I don't know what her experience, Laura's experience has been with those people, or if she sees herself as one of those people. I don't know, but no, absolutely not. And it's just not real. And a lot of the content in here of revolving church and stuff, it's just like, it's happening around the characters, but it's not thread, for me, it's not thread through seamlessly enough. Like, we go through some moments where, you know, especially someone like Deborah or whatever is like, oh, you know, what does God say about you? Like, whatever. But it just seems to be, it's happening around them and not with them. And I've seen it done so well, where we really weave in faith just effortlessly and easily, and it just comes across as part of the person and part of the story. This just didn't do that for me. So I'm sorry, Laura, and I'm sorry to all the people who maybe have read this book and really enjoyed it, but it just was not a book for me. I think what I have decided to do, though, is at some point, not right now, but at some point, I do want to reread this and annotate it and just go through and say, okay, these lines didn't work, this stuff didn't work, this stuff did. The things that I really enjoyed about it, I do want to find those, because there were some really cute and funny and interesting moments. Can I just say, one of the love people, interest people that she was looking at, hilarious. I liked him. So, you know, but I just think, yeah, I really want to go through this and actually properly annotate it and properly pay attention to it without going in with the intention of just like, I'm just going to read it and enjoy it, because I didn't enjoy it. It was 2.5 stars. But I do think that it does deserve a second go round, this time with like properly paying attention and annotating and really delving into some of the good and some of the bad. So I don't think I've really, not very often have I felt that way about a book. I don't know why this book just sort of is just it's gonna stick in my brain, but not for good reasons. So I really do want to go through it again. Also, as a last thing to mention, her dog Jaja, I think she's got a little bit too attached to this dog. Like, dogs aren't babies. I'm sorry if you feel that way and that's gonna make people annoyed. Dogs aren't babies, they're dogs. Dogs are part of the family. My dog for the last 15 years just passed away and it was devastating, okay? Like, I get it. Like, she basically died in my arms and it's really upsetting because she is a member of the family, but she's not the same as a baby, okay? Like, my niece, I would never put my dog, I never would have put my dog above my niece. Like, are you crazy? Like, don't have that relationship with your pets. Anyway, whatever. You do you. Okay, look, I shouldn't say don't do that. She just had such a strange relationship with her dog. I don't understand this weird closeness with a dog. I'm not saying she did anything weird with the dog. She didn't, but like, I don't know. I just felt like a lot of this book felt like filler. That's really what it comes down to, I think, for me. A lot of this book felt like filler. We had lots of scenes with a dog that didn't matter. We had scenes that, you know, really felt fleshed out that didn't have much meaning to the ultimate story and ultimate characters. It just really felt like this book was very, very short and they were like,
can you just increase the number? And it just was a lot of filler, and that's frustrating when it comes across that way. I'd rather just read a novella.
Alright, the next book is All's Fair in Love and Cupcakes by Betsy St. Amant, and I actually have 2 of her books on this list. So, 2 books. I hate mass market paperbacks. I hate them. Look how small this is. So frustrating. But that's the format it came in. So, I think I got it like this way because it was really cheap, and I like a good bargain when it comes to a book because books can be expensive. So, All's Fair in Love and Cupcakes. So, I have already got, I think there's I think a lot of romance books ends up centering on food, particularly baking, but like food. I should probably have just done a video on like purely baking romances because I swear, or cooking romances, because I swear there's like 100 million of them. I have at least 3 in this, and then I have 1. Actually, I have 1 that's coming on the way. It's about to be delivered. But I just probably could find, and I've read some before too. Hadley Beckett's Next Dish by Bethany Turner. That was a cooking romance as well. I loved that book. Oh my gosh, Bethany Turner. She has a new one coming out. I don't know when I'll be releasing this video, but she has a new book coming out. So exciting! Anyway, so All's Fair in Love and Cupcakes. Such a tangent person. Okay, so this book follows our main character, Kat, who is working in her aunt's bakery, and she's just kind of feeling a little bit discontented with her life. She doesn't know what she actually wants to do. And then her best friend, Lucas, signs her up for a reality baking show because he believes in her dreams, and then realizes that if she wins, she might be going off to New York, which means he would lose her. So there is a romance, there's a cooking TV reality show. I actually was thinking about reality TV show books today, so how interesting is that? Yeah, so then we got a romance, TV, baking, all of the good stuff in there with a lovely little book. Like I said, I've got 2 books of hers, so I'm hoping that this one will be a winner. Yo, sup? I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I do half the things I do on this channel. Alright. Hi. I have just finished All's Fair in Love and Cupcakes. I currently have tonsillitis, so I cannot be as expressive with my voice right now. But I'm going to talk about this while I remember it, because otherwise I may not remember it. So All's Fair in Love and Cupcakes, I really liked. I had a really good time reading this book. I still don't like mass market paperback size, but I really, really enjoyed this story. You know, you have characters who are, you have friends to lovers, you have characters who are idiots about their feelings, you have characters who jump into a reality TV cooking, baking show, and it was really, I enjoyed it. The only thing I would say is I would have loved to have seen a lot more of the cooking show behind the scenes. There's another book that I read recently which was about cooking, not baking, Hadley Beckett's Next Dish. That's by Bethany Turner, and I really enjoyed, they did like a reality cooking show in that, and you got a bit more of like this behind the scenes stuff with the TV show. I really enjoyed that, and so I think that doing that in the baking show would also have been really, really interesting. I think it would have made the book longer. I listened part an audio book and it was like 6 hours for the whole thing. That's not that long, but that's really my only problem that I had. Well, problem, but like that's really my only thing that I had with this book, that that I was mildly frustrated about. Otherwise, I really enjoyed it. I liked the characters. I liked how they grew, where they ended up. I liked the way that their faith in God was weaved throughout this story. I thought it was really nicely done, and it wasn't over the top, and it wasn't, you know, non-existent, and it wasn't. Sometimes characters act in the stupidest ways, and you're like, really? Like, I know you like, oh, it's my faith. No, it's not. You're acting like a dummy. That's not faith-based acting. Like how you're. It is not a faith-based decision, you know, it's stupid. This one was really well done. I really enjoyed it, and it was relationship choices, and career choices, and faith choices, just
all these really amazing things all wrapped up into one, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was well worth reading, and I am a little sad that I waited so long, but you know, now it has officially been read, and I will keep it even though it is mass market. I really, really liked this book. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5 stars because it was really good.
This is probably a book that's been on my bookcase for just one of the longest times. I think, especially in this pile of books. This has been here longer than most of these. And that is the Super Fake Love Song by David Yoon. I have wanted to read this for so long. It sounded freaking hilarious. I genuinely, I've wanted to read this for ages, and I'm glad I have a video for it, because honestly there are so many books on my bookcase that I love the sound of and I really want to read, and I just don't for some reason get around to it. So I made sure this book was in this video. It has to be in this video because I am so excited to read it. I think I've read a chapter of it, like the first chapter, just to sort of get a feel for the book before I bought it, and it just sounded so good, so funny. So who's our main character? Cyrus? I'm gonna say Cyrus. Our main character wants to impress a girl at his high school, ends up mistakenly, this girl thinks he's part of a band. He keeps letting her think that anyway, even though it's not true. And then eventually, as time goes on, he realizes maybe he does actually have to form some sort of a fake band to keep up the charade. Yeah, and so it's just like, he's a nerd, she's a cool girl. Oh, and it's just the what lies can do to you, my gosh. Also, this is the coolest. I love this cover. This isn't like, it's not even matte. It's just like, so cool. Anyway, so yeah, I have been wanting to read this forever. I'm so glad I finally get around to it. I was just about to just go to sleep, then I forgot that I hadn't filmed this yet, so woohoo! I have just finished, kind of, Super Fake Love Song by David Yoon, and the reason I say sort of is because I DNF'd. So I got a third? About a third of the way through. I love the cover of this book, Super Fake Love. I love the cover. This is such a beautiful cover. I am very sad that I DNF'd this and I'm not keeping it. So here's the thing. The way that this book was written was very funny. It was funny, it was cute, it was quirky. The thing that really killed it for me were all of the satanic, demonic references consistently throughout. Just the first third. So many references to like a Satan goat ring. Ew, what is that? 666, like what, why? What is the point? Is there a reason that we had to have so many satanic references in here? No, is the answer. There's not a reason, not a good one anyways. So, you know, I was done. I have absolutely no interest in inserting that into my life in any way at all on purpose. Why would I do that to myself? I don't understand the reason for that in this book. Like, main character, what's his name? Sunny. Sunny is supposed to pretend to be a rock star. That doesn't mean he has to be a satanic rock star. Like, what? Which is really a shame because, like I said, that was really cleverly written. Like, it was cute, it was funny, you know, interesting characters. Like the plot was like, you know, I could have got down with that. No. There were way too many demonic references. I'm sorry, but nah. Just nah. It seems, might seem like a little bit of a random reason to stop reading a book, but I'm very particular with that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a no from me. It's a no from me. 1/3 of the way through. I got to about, yeah, it's just over 100 pages. But no, I was all good. I'd had enough. I was fine with it. I skipped to the end though. I did jump to the end. So, I think I skim read 50 out of, like, half the, okay. I read to page 100. I skim read from page 50 to 100, and then I skim read the last chapter or and a half, or like 2 chapters. Yeah, that was about it.
So, yeah, whatever. Anyway, this book was a fail for me. 2.5 stars. If that. Yeah. I'm just so sad because this cover is so nice. Oh well. Alright, so this next book I have been unsure of. I think I read the first chapter to see if I would like it. I don't think I did the first and last chapter for this book. I think it was just the first chapter. And I think that was during my year of book advent year. My book advent in 2022 where I wrapped all of my books, not all of them, 24 books. Anyway, and it is The Words Between Us by Erin Bartels. So this book focuses on our main character, Robin, who runs a little bookstore, I think? Yeah, little bookstore in a quiet little town. She has changed her name because of her infamous parents, and she is trying to live a quiet, unassumed life. And then all of a sudden we get a book sent in the mail that reminds her of her parents and the infamous past that she has been wrapped up in her younger years, and she just does not want to get exposed for who she is again. She wants to just continue living her quiet life. And then cue in Peter, who is from her past and who has been in contact with her for years, and she doesn't know why he has all of a sudden decided to, and if it's related to her being exposed for being this infamously known child of 2 random people. I'm assuming that means that her parents were like horrendously killing people, like I don't know, but I did start to try and read this, and I think from what I remember it was a bit difficult to get into, and even though this cover, I bought it mainly because the cover was incredible. Like, it's got like these grooves in it where the pictures are, like where the book pages, anyway, cool cover. Also, the story did sound really interesting. I like myself a mystery, so I'm hoping this book is better than I'm expecting, because, you know, otherwise we will unhaul, but let's find out. Okay, hi. I have just read The Words Between Us by Erin Bartels. Yeah. What to say? What do I say? I didn't like it. I didn't like it, I didn't enjoy it, it wasn't my cup of tea. So I read about 1/3 of this book. I skim-read 1/3 of this book before I decided to skip to the end and read the last 5 or so chapters and just get the gist of the end. Life is too short when you don't enjoy a book. It's too short. So, oh, there you go, nice little handy armrest. So, I didn't like this book at all. So, how do I explain why I didn't like this book? Okay. Hang on. I have a review written down, and I'm going to just read from it because, wait right there. Recently, I've read a couple of books that have these dual timeline thing going on, and I have discovered I don't like that. I don't like dual timelines. I like a linear story. We can do a couple of flashbacks, that's okay, like some flashbacks is fine, but the dual timeline bit, no, no, I can't be, like, so we kept jumping back and forward with Robin and Peter in the past when they were teenagers and had just met, and then to now when Robin is on her own and she's, you know, running a bookstore, and quite honestly, I hated that back and forth. It was frustrating, and I didn't care to know their past in that much detail. Like, just explain it to me now. Like, I don't care about all that exposition of, like, a dual timeline. It wasn't necessary for me. I also noticed that we had 2 different characters. Robin, our main character, is 2 different people. When she's a teenager, she's a spunky, you know, interesting, somewhat lost, but, like, you know, she's got some bite in her. And then you come to her present day and she's subdued and boring, and, you know, she's got a little bit of that spark in her, but for the most part she's just kind of dull sounding and, like, ugh. Why are we getting a split personality? Why are we doing that when she's not a split personality? Why are we getting, like, 2 different... I'm getting whiplash from reading this. It was very jarring. The mystery part of this book was just dull. Honestly, I didn't care. It wasn't hooking me in. It wasn't keeping me engaged. I couldn't have cared less.
There was also this weird obsession thing at the beginning of this book with death, with like, you know, she's so fascinated by death. Oh, like, I don't know why I'm fascinated. I live in a graveyard. Like, what was that? What was that? Why was that thrown in here? No, absolutely not. No, ew, gross. No, you didn't even prepare me that was going to be a thing. Like, I mean, okay, granted it wasn't a huge thing, but it was still a thing. And I'm like, no, if I'd known that, I absolutely would never have read this book on purpose. Ew, gross, ew, yuck. No. I will say, a couple of the storylines that I saw the end plot for, I mean, it was alright. If you'd written a book solely in the present tense, and there was less of the my dad's about to be executed thing, and it was more about like the bookstore and saving the bookstore and the friends and the romance without doing the flashbacks, honestly it would have been more interesting. Yeah, I think it would have been more interesting that way. But no, we didn't do that. We did some other stuff. Anyway, this book was not for me. Hopefully the next one will have better luck.
Alright, we have The Heart Between Us by Lindsay Harrell. So, The Heart Between Us is a bit more intense than I usually read, which is why I have put it off probably quite a bit. It is about our main character, Megan, who has had a bad heart, and then she finally gets a heart transplant, but that means that another little girl has died to give her the heart, and so she has gotten this heart transplant, she's on the mend, and then she discovers that the girl who gave up her heart, who died, who gave her heart to her, she finds out that that little girl had an unfulfilled bucket list, and she wants to fulfill it for her, because she has her heart in her now. And so she, feels connected, and so she decides to tick off the things on this other little girl's bucket list that she never got to do. There is also a love interest. His name is Caleb, and he is an old hospital friend that she's reconnected with, and they are going to go on this trip and try to fulfill all of these bucket list items that this donor heart had on her list. So it's going to be really interesting for me, and I mean this is kids who are sick, so that's really challenging to read anyway. For me anyways. And so that's probably why I've put this one off for a bit, because it is going to be a challenging read. But let's see how we go. I'm really hoping to not get too emotional with this book, but we'll find out. We'll find out soon. Hi! I have just finished a book, and it is The Heart Between Us by Lindsay Harrell. I have been fortunate to make it through some of these books with audiobooks. I read through the audiobook, even though I own the physical copy. I would have read the physical copy, but I just, again, time poor. But, let me give you my thoughts because I finished it. It was not what I was expecting it was going to be. This was a very character-driven story. I am a plot girly. Sorry, I just am. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. It just means it was a little different than I was hoping for. So, the story, I probably went over the story, but really quickly I have an updated version, which is just a little bit better. So, our main character has had a heart transplant from a girl she'd never met, and her sister goes with her to other countries, to travel to other countries to fulfill the heart donor's bucket list, because she was only 18, and, oh, excuse me. She goes through that process. She has got a guy who was a good friend of hers who also was in the heart transplant sort of ward, and got a heart before her, and they were friends, and they only just sort of see each other again after a certain amount of years, right before she decides to do this. He is somewhat in this book, but it's really limited, and I was under the impression she was going to go with him. I don't know why. The back even tells you that the sister is the one who goes on the trip with her, but I don't know, I felt like it would have been a really great story to sort of see the guy. It's not about that. This is a very sister relationship sort of themed book. Like there's all kinds of themes in here. Relationships in general. The older sister is married, and so there's that situation happening, and there's all these kind of connections and relationships and stuff going on. But the two sisters, Megan and Crystal, give me so much Anna and Elsa vibes. That is really just... It's basically, this book is the Anna Elsa situation, like, hiding her emotions and trying to pretend that she's all on top of things, and then just,
being young and naive and, you know, wanting to do stuff, you know, wanting to connect with his sister, but like, you know, I just was such Anna Elsa vibes. Look, I'm not mad at it. I will say I was disappointed that we didn't get as much content surrounding the actual bucket list stuff, but that comes down to me wanting to be plot girl and not necessarily character driven. I found the characters to be really interesting. I liked it. I liked them. I thought the way that the story and the characters progressed was pretty good. It was relatively solid. You know, 3-4 stars, I would say. I think I might have given it 3.5. Just hedge in the middle. It was a pretty solid story. I would read it. I would probably read it again. Like, if I was in the mood for a book like this, I'd pick it up because it was pretty interesting. It was my expectations of this book just weren't exactly met. Doesn't mean it wasn't good. It just was different than what I was expecting. But still a pretty solid read. So there you go. The next book on the list is the other Betsy St. Amant, and that is Tacos for Two. I am so excited to read this. This book sounded so much fun. This is 2 food truck owners who are competing against each other for the best spot and stuff. But one of the food truck owners, Rory, cannot cook, but she still wants to keep her family business, the food truck, up and running. And so it's quite interesting. It sounds like it'll be interesting. There's a contest, a food truck festival contest that she is trying to win against our other main character, Jude. And he has formerly been part of his father's law firm, but wants to follow his dream as a chef. I suppose the food truck is your first step. But, you know, it sounded like so much fun. They both have reasons that they want to win the contest. He doesn't want to go back to the law firm. She doesn't want her family business to just be ruined because she can't really cook very well. And so my guess is they're going to help each other in the end. But it'll be something like an enemies to lovers is what I can assume. But, you know, it's, it sounded so cute and so fun. And look at this cool ass cover. I loved this cover. It was so cute. So I am excited to read this. Okay, this is going to be quick and to the point because I am tired, but this video is finally coming to an end with the final book that I have finished reading, which is Tacos for Two by Betsy St. Amant. I loved this book. 4.75 stars, very, very close to a 5-star. It is a combination of You've Got Mail / Pride and Prejudice with taco trucks thrown in. I really enjoyed it. I thought the relationship was really great. The only reason it got 4.75 stars was because I don't like the miscommunication trope, and this had that in there. So that's like really the only thing that I didn't like. But I really enjoyed it. It was cute, it was funny, it was interesting, it held my attention. I liked the dynamics between all the characters and the element of the food truck, you know, competition. It was really quite fun. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think it was a really nice way to finish out this video. Sometimes with these videos, I don't always get what exactly I wanted, and you know, it's not always a winner, but this one was a really nice way to end out the video of the romance books that I have had on my shelf for quite some time, but just hadn't got around to reading. This is definitely a keep. I really, really liked it. I really actually quite liked the other Betsy St. Amant book that I read as well. I think that she's really, really quite a good writer, has some really great stories. So I'm very impressed, and I'm very happy that I have got my own copy of Tacos for Two. Even though I listened to the audiobook for this, it was really nice to listen to the audiobook, but I also now have my physical copy still, and I love my physical copies. So there you go, that was the last one. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts about these books that I have just had in my bookcase for so very long. If you've read any of these, let me know in the comments below what you thought about them. And yeah, I look forward to hearing any romance book recommendations if you have any. You can pop those in the comments as well. Otherwise, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you in the adventures.